this is going to be the video on my third experience that changed my life. And in the last video I talked about how I wanted to start playing lacrosse after recovering from my broken leg. So this story starts off in 8th grade where I have my leg cast off and I'm just starting to play lacrosse. So 8th grade year, my parents and I decided that the best thing for me would to be doing homeschooling. And I know that's kind of weird, like I'm sure most of you haven't been homeschooled, and this is my first time ever being homeschooled, and it was kind of weird. I liked the freedom aspect, but I didn't really get too much done, but I did have a lot of time. So with that time and that drive that I have, I spend most of pretty much all my free time playing lacrosse. So when I was done with practices and stuff, I would beg my mom, because I didn't have a car at the time, so I'd beg my mom to bring me to the nearby racquetball courts. And at the racquetball courts, there's probably 7 or 8 different like walls lined up next to each other. So I'd probably go honestly 3 or 4 times a week, and I'd throw like 100, 200 balls right hand, switch to left hand, and then I would run like down in between the walls, throw a ball, catch, like cradle, throw, and I would just keep going down and back. And what that did was, since I was new and I was already behind in the sport, I was able to catch up to the rest of the players much quicker, and I was even able to make the all-star team my first season playing, which was very important to me because I'm extremely competitive. If you know me, then you know that. And anything I do, I pretty much go all in. I don't know how to do something half-assed. So I'm either kind of all in or I'm just kind of like not really giving it attention. I went on to try for the lacrosse team in high school in 9th grade. I ended up not making varsity, but I met a lot of really great people in JV that were freshmen like me. And one of the kids, we called him Otter. He ended up becoming one of my best friends. He was in my tight like friend circle in high school with like 4 or 5 other kids. We would hang out all the time, we'd go to each other's places, we'd like always mess around, eat lunch together, whatever. And we just went on to become good friends through all of freshman year and then into sophomore year. And then one day it was Otter, another one of my friends, and then another girl that we were all friends with. And we all decided we were going to go play mini golf in Delray Beach. And this is where my high school experience just started going downhill very fast. So we finished playing the 9 holes, and we decided that this was too easy and we were going to try and make it a little more challenging. So we decided to start hitting the mini golf balls onto other holes and try and make it like hit it over one hole, over like some rocks or a river, onto the next hole. And we started taking this a little too far, and I remember I was hitting it up a hill and Chris was kind of at the other end of the hole, and I kind of like whacked it a little too hard, and it was just at the right trajectory in the slope where the ball ended up actually leaving the ground and going about 3 or 4 feet into the air right towards Otter. And Otter ended up ducking down like this, and I remember it hit him literally right here in the temple, like right on the side of the head. And at first we're like, oh shit, like, is he okay? We ran over to him, we got him some ice. He had like a little bump on his head, but we didn't think too much of it because it was literally, I hit it with a rubber putter and it was a mini golf ball. And it's not like we were like swinging it, but like it was still a golf ball. So we were concerned, but we weren't like, holy shit, like he's gonna die or something like that. So we get him some ice, we check it out, and we end up going to get pizza after. And then halfway through, no, I think we finished pretty much eating. Everyone's coming. We couldn't drive again, so our parents are coming to pick us up, and his parents pick him up. He goes home, and he's talking to his parents, and he starts slurring his words. Like, he can't remember how to say certain words. The words aren't coming out of his mouth right, and he starts forgetting what he did during the day. So his parents immediately rush him to the hospital. They do either an MRI or a CAT scan on his head to see what's going on, and what they find is he has internal bleeding. Well, I think they called it a hemorrhage, and they couldn't get the swelling down. So it was about this time where I get the call, I'm at my house, and my mom's like, Chris is in the hospital, like they don't know exactly what's wrong with him now, but he's gonna have to go into surgery sometime. And I'm like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, how the hell did that happen? Like, he was fine earlier, because I just saw him like an hour or two ago. And yeah, that's when shit started to get real. So, following the news that we got with Otter, every single day it would be me and then a few of his other friends, and we'd go to the hospital and visit him, and we just try and provide any support we could to his family and him, even though at the time he wasn't really fully conscious and awake, let alone talking at all, really. And at the time I went to a Catholic school, so every morning before school we'd wake up extra early, and my girlfriend and I and some other people, we would go and we'd pray for him. And this whole experience really helped me develop faith, because before I never really knew what to believe. I didn't really understand everything. Obviously it's very complex, everyone has their own different beliefs, but for me personally, I developed a strong relationship with God during this experience, because it was very difficult for me and I didn't know what else to turn to. So we'd go visit Otter, we'd go pray, we'd go do this, but we didn't know if he was gonna make it, we didn't know if he was gonna live, because they hadn't performed the surgery yet. It turns out that the surgery went extremely well. It worked amazing, and everyone was just so grateful, and it was just an amazing feeling. But the problem was, after he was finished with the surgery, he still had problems with his speech. He had extreme problems with his memory. I remember my friends and I went to visit him in rehab, because he had to go to rehab after to relearn how to talk, to walk, to do different things. And we went to visit him, and he didn't remember our names, let alone his parents' names. He just completely forgot how to say things. It was weird, because he could say certain slang words that we would use. He'd be like, "What up, guys?" like this, but he wouldn't remember our names, or what a chair was called, or a mirror, or like certain like objects, like refrigerator. Like, he didn't know what those objects were called. So it was just a very sad and like startling experience, because I had never seen him like that before. Because when he was in the hospital, he wasn't talking much, but now he was conscious and he still didn't recognize us. He didn't know how to speak, and I was just like, holy shit, like I was like responsible for this. Like, all the weight of everything I felt like was on my shoulders. Like, I was the reason this happened. It was my fault. I ruined my friend's life, because at the time we didn't know his memory and everything was going to come back through therapy, which it did. I spoiled it. Everything ended up coming back. He had an amazing recovery over the next year, but at the time we had no idea what was going to happen. The future was undetermined. He wasn't predicted to make a full recovery, although he did, and he went to college after. He returned to high school for a few more years, and he's doing very well now, which I'm just so grateful for. I can't even describe it. So that happened, and after therapy, this was going to be towards the end of sophomore year now. So I went back to school. I was still playing lacrosse, and everyone at my school had a very strong support unit for him. Everyone had stickers on their helmet that said Otter, everything. But I kept getting comments from people like, "Oh, you almost killed Otter," like all this stuff, and it was really, really hard for me. Obviously it was way harder for Chris in some ways, because he was going through it, but I was the one who felt like I was responsible for everything, and I was getting these little comments that made me feel like I did it on purpose. Like, this kid was literally my best friend before this happened. I mean, I wasn't able to concentrate in school. I remember I had multiple days where I would just skip school, or I would leave early with my girlfriend just because I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to do the homework. I was actually depressed at this time. I didn't want to leave my house that much. I didn't want to go out and do stuff. I was just in a really bad place. I finished school that semester with 23 days tardy. which means I showed up to school 23 days late that semester. If that gives you any idea of how hard it was for me to wake up in the morning. And if it was that hard for me, I can't even imagine how hard it was for Chris's family, his parents, his little brother. I honestly can't even imagine how difficult that must have been for them. But if this experience taught me anything, it was never to take life for granted. Always be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for the people around you. And that life can change in an instant. I mean, I would have never fucking guessed that I would have hit a golf ball playing mini golf hard enough to hit my friend in the head, let alone how do you even hit a golf ball with a mini golf putter in the air? I have no fucking idea, but that shit can happen, and it's very real. So don't take your time for granted and appreciate what you have, because that shit can change. So around this time was when I was actually recruited by one of my travel lacrosse coaches to transfer to a prep school to play lacrosse. And at the beginning, like when I first got this offer, I wasn't really interested. I was happy where I was. I liked the people around me. I liked playing lacrosse at my original school. But then this accident happened, and all this shit went down, and my life was just going downhill pretty fast. And then a lawsuit started to form, and it started to build a barrier between not only me and Chris, but a lot of our mutual friends that we had. And it just made everything a lot more tricky, a lot more uncomfortable, and I just wanted to get out of there at the time. So it made my decision to look into this offer a lot easier for me. And luckily I ended up really liking the school, I really liked the coaches, and I said, alright, I'm going to take this leap of faith, and I'm going to hope that this opportunity unfolds in my favor. So I did that. I ended up switching schools, and the school was so nice. I mean, the freaking kids there had nicer cars than most parents drive. It was a super nice prep school. I had a nice scholarship, so I wasn't paying the full amount. The fields were super nice. Everything about it was nice. The kids weren't as genuine and as real, I would say, as the kids at my old school. But, you know, I'm pretty social. I made friends, and I ended up having a really good time over there. So things did work out for me. It was just a very hard lesson to learn. I mean, I don't know why I had to go through all of that, the whole entire Otter situation, to end up going to the school. But it worked out for my higher purpose, for the better. Because through this school, they had a very good reputation. They were great at getting kids into the colleges they wanted. My grades started to skyrocket. I was getting almost all A's at the school. I was doing very well. I did well in my SAT, all of that. And it really helped me. It was the reason I got into UF, honestly. Because I know almost for a fact that if I stayed at the other school, I wouldn't have gotten to UF. And it also created that separation between that incident that happened for me and allowed me to almost restart my life at a new school, make new friends, and I didn't have to keep thinking about what had happened at the other school and that experience that I wanted to get as far away from as possible at the time. And this allowed me to do that. I do want to add that going to this new school wasn't just smooth sailing, like, oh, I'm at this new school, like, oh, like, it's awesome. It was actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, because you have new people, new environment, new teachers, new coaches. Everything's different. Nothing's the same, so you have to adapt. And it's uncomfortable. It's just really uncomfortable, which, again, I learned a lot. And for any of you that have had to change schools in the middle of high school or maybe even middle school, then you can relate to me. It's hard. It's difficult. But overall, I'm grateful for my decision and how everything worked out. But yeah, it was funny because another thing is, like I said before, everyone was driving super nice cars, and me and my buddy were the only kids with trucks there, so we were known as like the truck guys. Like, oh, you're the kid with the truck, right? Oh yeah, I see your car all the time. Like, yeah, so I was that guy, and I was considered like country or like a redneck over there, even though I'm not even close to country. I like doing that stuff, but it's just funny how the perspective changed so much from different schools, because the kids at my new school were super privileged and spoiled, and they weren't exposed to a lot of the stuff the kids at my other school were. So I just want to quickly talk about some of the things that I learned through this experience and some of the ways that impacted my life going forward. And I just want to say that having your entire life literally flipped upside down can cause you to kind of either go one way or another. It can lead you into a depression and turn you to drugs and alcohol, and you just don't want to have anything to do with people. Or you can kind of go the other route and not give up, keep looking ahead, keeping your head up, looking for light, love, friends, and faith and prayer. And I chose to go that route, even though I was depressed at some points. I mean, I think that would be kind of natural in a circumstance where your friend almost dies and because of you. But, you know, I really tried to focus on positive things during this time. And I was lucky that my mom was there for me, my girlfriend was there for me. So I did have support from other people and other people to talk to about this. Although I did hold a lot more of it in than I should have, which came back to bite me in the ass later on when I was at my new school. But I learned that you can get through anything in life if you keep your head up and you look for support, you surround yourself with good people, and you don't give up. You never give up. I became extremely resilient through this experience. I became mentally tough, and I learned that things do get better with time, with that mindset. You have to have the mindset that you will get through this, because if you are just focusing on the negative things and lack in your life, then that's what you're gonna get. You have to focus on what you want and always remain positive, even when you look around and you're like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, how am I in this situation right now? So I just want to leave you guys with that. And I also want to say that if this never happened, if I never started playing lacrosse, I never met Chris. If I never met Chris, this accident wouldn't have happened. I would have never went to my new school. And if I never went to my new school, I would have never gotten into UF. And UF has changed my life. I've made so many amazing friends and great connections. And I'm just so happy I'm there right now. So again, everything happens for you, not to you. It just may not seem like that at the time.